Welcome to Packets and Bolts, podcast about technology, life, philosophy, and everything in between. It is Saturday, December 30th, 2023. It's your host, Muskrat, along with my co-hosts, Mongoose and Dubstench.
Yeah. 2023.
2023, coming to an end. Today, we conduct the 2023 year in review. I believe this is our 52nd episode.
And we're going on year 6.
Oh, yeah. Season 6 coming in January.
There's no stopping.
Of course, we'll take a look at some headlines, read some emails, which we haven't done for a couple shows, have some drinks. Email us, packetsandbolts@gmail.com, packetsandbolts@gmail.com. Join us on Discord. Follow us on Mastodon. Oh, yeah. You know.
And we always talk about OnlyFans coming in 2024.
And Patreon.
And MySpace.
I miss MySpace.
Yeah, MySpace, our band's page is still up, I think. Got to look that up.
MySpace to your place.
So I'm going to...
And
All right, I'm drinking Spaten Optimator.
I'm drinking 2 women.
It's a Doppelbock.
I got some Long Island iced tea action going on here.
It's 2 women by...
New Glarus.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, you can only find it in the remote deserts of Wisconsin.
Yeah, it's bootlegging if you get anywhere else.
Yeah, there was a story a few years ago which we did not cover. I think this predates the podcast, but they found that they were smuggling New Glarus beer out to New York City, and there was a bar in New York City that was selling it illegally. And
did the ATF get involved?
I think the ATF did. I do think so.
What's it is illegal to sell it outside the...
Yeah, they don't distribute outside of Wisconsin. So contact us, email us if you want some New Glarus beer. It's good.
Yeah, so because they don't
Smuggle it
distribute
down
it, taking it between state lines is bootlegging. Yeah.
Well, in selling it after... You can take it across state lines and enjoy it.
I believe so, yeah.
Share it with
Yeah,
friends.
you can't sell it. Yeah, right. I believe. I don't know. Let's get a lawyer on.
Oh, we have a lawyer. When's the last time he was on?
Was that a year or two ago?
But at least 2 years ago.
Yeah. That's right.
To get him back on. Yeah.
Give him a ring. All right, well... We got some headlines here. It's only been a couple of weeks since our last show. We've been actually trying to make up for lost time here. We did not achieve one episode per month.
It's been a busy year, yeah.
I think this is our 10th show for the year. So we'll see how this goes.
It's not quantity, it's quality.
That's right.
Has there ever been 12 a year?
I think when we first started. It's tough. It's tough.
Next year will be 16.
Yeah.
Maybe this is the year we make up for it.
Yeah. All right. Let's look at these headlines here. Mongoose put some last-minute ones here. Beauty company, this is a HuffPost. Beauty company denies its body butter sold at Sephora attracts spiders. So a viral review claims that Sol de Janeiro's Delicia Drench body butter.
Butchering.
I am. Delicia? Drench body butter attracts wolf spiders.
Delicia drenched body butter.
But arachnid experts say that's extremely unlikely. I've never even heard of a spider attractant.
Who's making that claim to start with?
Well, it looks like it all started with a 1-star review for this page, I think. Was it at the...
So it was on the website of Sephora.
Sephora, okay.
Which is they're a big retailer, right?
Is it possible that it's not a legit review and someone was just being funny? Because that is pretty funny.
The review posted earlier this month. When is this from? It's from December. It's from today. On the website of beauty retailer Sephora warned readers in all caps, scent attracts wolf spiders. The reviewer implored people who are scared of wolf spiders to watch out. So specifically wolf spiders? That's very interesting if true.
I guess so. Well, they went on to describe the lotion as kryptonite to wolf spiders, even though they probably meant something like catnip.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kryptonite's not good.
Opposite
Superman. Wolf spiders, they're not poisonous. They're rather large. I was in Illinois several years ago, and one got into a coat of mine that was hanging on it. So I took the coat down, and the wolf spider jumped out of it and freaked me out because they're fucking big.
They are painful bites. I don't, unless you're allergic, I don't think.
So somebody had this smeared this butter crap all over them, and
It chased
they
her.
Just got attacked by spiders.
Supposedly.
Wait, a spider went after her, or multiple?
The spider wanted to eat whatever ingredient it was so bad that it chased me, the reviewer claimed. I swear on everything. I'd run left, it ran left. I ran right, it ran right. Like it was legit following the scent.
So why didn't you stomp that thing out? Why are you running and trying to elude it?
You don't want to step on a wolf spider unless you want to clean your shoes off for the next 2 weeks.
Or do you want to run around and house butter all over you getting chased by a spider?
Well, it looks like it went viral across social media, picked up even more attention after a Reddit user cited a study suggesting that
Farnesyl acetate and hexadecyl acetate.
and they're using this thing.
Yeah, they can mimic pheromones from sexually receptive female spiders.
Ooh, so it was a male. If this is true. So this Redditor.
Yeah, well, see, that's interesting because the male spiders, I think generally, almost universally, are smaller than the females, and there's a very high incidence between spider species of cannibalism after mating. Right, the female spider, which is generally multiple times larger than the male, will eat the male after.
Maybe it was a hermaphrodite spider that had a hankering for butter.
I mean, this is just spider dating is like a microcosm for modern dating.
So
Right, you get laid, and then the woman, like you get married, and then she eats you, proverbially speaking, and
And then you're forced to survive by chasing people with butter
takes all your
smeared on
money, takes your kids, and boots you out of the house. It's
them. Yeah, right.
So
It's exactly like real life. You're right.
except there's no egg sac. So
Wow.
or is there?
So the Redditor does not know if this actually has these chemicals in it, but that was a theory. So I don't know if any of this is confirmed.
Well, if you're not buying it, she says, no, the scent isn't that good. Nothing a $5 vanilla cream can't match.
I'm not up on my
right.
topical creams, so I couldn't really say yay or nay either way.
Spider experts also say that even if the product did have those ingredients, it probably wouldn't become irresistible to wolf spiders. Probably. It's highly unlikely that the skin cream company, through random chance, combined enough things in just the right proportion to mimic a spider compound. I don't know. Maybe they're using spiders to make it.
Or maybe it just smelled delicious to the spider. It had nothing to do with
No.
any of that stuff. Just he was hungry.
Dr. George Utz, a professor of biological sciences at the University of Cincinnati, noted that farnesyl acetate and hexadecyl acetate haven't been shown to attract wolf spiders, but other species of spiders. So maybe it's worse. Maybe the Brazilian P. ferra, the deadliest spider known to man in the Brazilian rainforest.
Oh, boy.
They'll come hunting you.
I think this sounds like a funny prank, and there should be a whole line of products that are geared around surprising people by, oh, look, it attracts spiders.
They should do that. They should make this
Laundry
a
detergent.
Halloween thing. A laundry detergent.
Hair gel.
It's
I
like
don't know.
the
Like the thing
Harry
is, like
Potter.
you just got to get cats.
Yeah, maybe. But it's like that Harry Potter, what was it? The basilisk repelled spiders. Spiders ran from basilisks. Yeah.
That
So they
sounds-
need basilisk scent.
So what if you coat a basilisk with this butter stuff? That's kind of
I'd be conflicted.
it's like
yeah.
putting a dehumidifier next to a
We should try
humidifier.
that.
All right. Let's see here. What is going on? Now, before we get to these new ones, well, I think that was one of your new ones.
Yeah.
We're going to go to the technical news. Ars Technica, SSH protects the world's most sensitive networks. It just got a lot weaker. So if you haven't heard of the Terrapin attack, uses prefix truncation to downgrade the security of SSH channels. So hopefully there are patches. Hopefully you get patched. And Cha-Cha, what is it, 20 poly, whatever, Cha-Cha 20 poly 1305 and CBC ciphers are susceptible as well. But they have put out some patches that can resist this. But if you're not patched and you're running insecure ciphers, fix this.
They're coming for you.
SSH hasn't had a good year this year. There's been multiple SSH issues.
No, and we deal with this every year, right?
Oh yeah.
I remember a few years ago there was, this was SSL and TLS had the downgrade attacks. There were several of them, I believe. 2018, 2017? Where those were the big years for the downgrade attacks there, where major vendors, we scramble as IT professionals to patch those things.
Right.
So
Happens all
the downgrade
the time.
attacks, they make sense. If you're a threat actor, you want to downgrade the security so you have a better chance to break the encryption.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, this is ZDNet.com, and it's been a while since we did a story on 5G. This isn't specific to 5G, but worried about iPhone 12 radiation? Here's what you need to know. Tests carried out by a French watchdog said the model emits more electromagnetic radiation than permitted. But what does that really mean for users? In related news, there has been a connection found more and more between people that have high cell phone use and tumors. So I think it's time for a follow-up study to our 5G.
Didn't they do something like that with cell phones, like in Europe a long time ago? And they said normal cell phone usage could cause tumors in your brain and things like that. But normal cell phone usage was 20 minutes a week.
I don't know.
It's something real low.
Yeah.
So, the long and the short here is we still don't know how cancer develops. It's probably everything is cancerous, right? So, we're talking here about the radiation possibly being a cause for, a larger incidence of tumors. But I was listening to a podcast the other day where they had on the guest of this particular podcast is a preeminent researcher and doctor in the field of fecal transplant and stem cell therapies, and it all sounds very promising, especially the stem cell stuff. But he was saying that there's evidence coming out now that there could be fungal causes to cancer, and of course we're surrounded by different fungi. It's everywhere. It's in the spores in the air. It's all over the place, right? So. There's some relationship between how fungi operate. And as we noted a couple years ago when we talked about 5G, we talked about how the millimeter waves can manipulate the biology of especially microbes and things. But if it can manipulate, the biological structures of microbes, it's probably having an effect on fungal networks too.
Yeah. Well, if that's not a big enough reason to get off cell phones, because I say the radiation is bad, and eventually it's going to come out. BGR.com.
We need a giant EMP blast.
Right? It's coming. Most sophisticated iPhone attack ever used a hidden hardware feature to backdoor iOS. Now, some people are saying this was purposely made for NSA and all the other alphabet agencies to take the iPhone backdoors. But whether or not it was purposeful, this is a multifaceted attack that relied on several zero-day exploits to do a no-click hack of phones. And this is what the Pegasus spyware, one of their ways of using it. Now, the funny thing is, I don't know if you want to call it funny, someone at Kaspersky Labs actually got infected by this. And so then they were able to have a full-featured version of the exploit to study. So probably a bad idea to go after a security researcher group if you're trying to keep your shit, secret. But once again, iPhones are just as trash as any other phone. Get off the phones.
Well, and
I wouldn't say just as.
They're just as. Closed source.
Well, I think that's the key, right? Because, this article, it says, while the research firm says it's observed over 30 zero-day exploits in products like the iPhone, Adobe, Apple, Google, Microsoft, this is susceptible, right? So what interests me about this is how many exploits did they say that they found zero-day exploits with
30?
this?
I'm not sure. I just closed
I
it,
said
but
there
it
were-
used at least 4 to succeed, right? It had a chain of, let's see here, pull it back up. All I know is it was multiple, and I thought it was.
Well, I did a little bit of searching around and researching on this subject before we started this podcast today, and percentage-wise, and this is very difficult to hammer down across the industry, but generally speaking, in terms of zero-day exploits and how they're identified, you can attribute about 40 to 50%, give or take, of those exploits are found through the development within those specific technology companies. 20 to 30% are typically identified by bug bounties, and I would almost argue that maybe it's more. There's a lot of work to go and identify proactively zero-day type exploits and report them to companies, and the bug bounties are pretty lucrative, right? I mean, the big technology vendors, including Apple, will pay for, depending on the severity of the vulnerability, upwards of $100,000 or more to identify an exploit. And I know people online that I follow who make their living completely professionally on bug bounties.
Yeah, just doing that like freelance type of thing.
Yeah, they're good developers that have built a career on reverse engineering technologies from vendors and finding exploits and then reporting them and getting the bug bounties.
Yeah.
So like how do they find all these exploits? I mean, it makes me think that this is the work of a nation state or some larger threat.
Well, yeah, Pegasus is definitely Israel-backed, but NSO group. But there's a couple things. I do actually probably think this was a backdoor made purposefully. And then it's not hard if you already engineer a backdoor for other people to find it that you weren't intending to. So that's one problem with making a backdoor. But let's pretend there was no purposeful backdoor. A well-funded group can do multiple types of analysis on closed systems to find out what's hidden features and shit like that. So yeah, if they get enough time and money, you're gonna be able to find that kind of stuff even without being a purposeful backdoor. Speaking of Israel, South Africa files genocide case against Israel at the World Court, according to Reuters.com. And that was from the 29th. That was yesterday. So we'll see how that goes in 2024 if the world doesn't end here. Oh. All right.
Let's hope that's not a precursor to 2024.
It might be.
Knock on wood.
So what are they filing? What's the basis of their lawsuit?
Well, I mean, the fact that they're blowing the shit out of everyone and indiscriminately and going after hospitals and, bombing camps. UN workers are being killed, journalists, priests, doctors, I don't know, you name it. I don't know
People
what
you're not supposed to kill.
So what's the motive for South Africa filing these things?
Well, it's because no one, other people are just hanging out. So South Africa is, as a former apartheid nation, probably trying to lead the way of, stopping that shit.
Well, so by the way, side note, South Africa, I've been trying to look into, and I got a lot more research to do, but part of the interest I have in South Africa came about recently when I started learning about the farm murders. Have you heard of the farm murders that are happening in South Africa?
Why are you saying it like that? Farmers.
Farm murders.
Farm murders. I thought you were saying farmers.
Farmers.
Like, what?
The farmers.
Quit saying that.
Damn it. Anyway, so the farm murders have been going on for a while, and they target white farmers. Okay, so there's two competing political factions in South Africa, and this is, of course, post-apartheid, right? But they send out kill squads to white farmers, and the number of white farmers that have been murdered in South Africa over the last few years is staggering, and they've built the white farmers have taken the actions of forming kind of their own police forces to basically roam and respond whenever, and they actually have panic buttons at their farms, a lot of these farmers. And the idea is that if they get attacked by these kill squads, that they can have their own police force respond. But it's a product of the politics of South Africa. It's fascinating. It's scary.
Was it racially motivated, or
Well,
is it like, what are they farming?
And everybody who gets murdered is white, so I would say there is a racial component to it.
Unless the majority of farmers are white.
Well, that's it. The majority of farmers are, I get
guess
what you're
we'd
saying.
we'd have to see how it. Yeah.
I mean, I listened to a podcast about that. It was pretty dense, and I didn't, I was doing other things, and this is a few months ago, but they were describing some of the politics in South Africa, and they were asserting that there was a racial component to it. But I mean, you would, after a history of apartheid and oppression, you can see how perhaps the reverse would be true. If
Well, we'll have to look into that for 2024.
it could be a very interesting podcast topic,
Yeah,
I guess.
because I have not heard that.
But look
until
into it, yeah.
now. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Now, we got doctors reveal the 5 body parts we aren't washing enough, and it's quite gross. Mongoose posted this one. Is there a top 5 list? I don't see it listed. Let's see here.
This better be hilarious.
Well, this is
Oh, no.
This came from TikTok, right? So it has to be true. It's followers of Dr. Jen Caudle. She's a U.S.-based family doctor.
All right.
And she's racked up millions of views discussing people's lack of personal hygiene and the implications. And she lists the body parts that are regularly missed when people shower. So
It's funny how you told her how many likes she's got on TikTok as opposed to her real credentials.
well, that's probably her main credential.
That's a thing now.
So what would you guys say is the body part that doesn't get washed enough?
Elbow. Eyelash.
Do you? I don't. Well, no, I wash my elbows.
Epidermis.
Okay.
Come on, dub stench. So she calls out
Behind the
specifically.
ears.
She calls out specifically the legs. She said she doubled down, insisting, "I want you to actually wash your legs.
Interesting.
Just letting water run down your legs is not good enough.
Says
They
who?
actually need to be scrubbed and washed." Well, in our American society, how many people actually have the dexterity and the healthy weight to be able to bend over in the shower and wash their legs?
I thought you were going to go and say we wash too much in America. We should wash less.
Who's going around smelling legs? And
That's probably what people think.
And we touched on that before the podcast, Muskrat, and I do believe that you can make the argument that we wash too much.
Yes.
Sometimes the harmful bacteria that she warns against are good for our immune system.
Yes.
Call it like war games, whatever you want for your body. But
Right.
when you're constantly disinfecting your body, like you're doing a major disservice to your microbiome, you're probably killing the good bacteria.
Agreed.
well, what if you want to cultivate this good bacteria out of your legs?
So I was going to say behind the ears, and I'll go one step further on the leg cat topic. I wash my legs towards the end because the dirty water is coming from the top, running over the legs. See, so I do top down washing.
Yeah, I would assume that's common sense that you start at the top. I mean, when I get in the shower, I wash my hair. That's number one.
Well,
right?
what about those of us who do a handstand while we shower?
Yeah, then you have to reverse.
Well,
it.
then you got yeah. Then you do your toes. She says you should do your toes too.
All right. What
Also
else?
references the folds of skin. They need to be lifted and cleaned. Okay, skin underneath breasts.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we've all encountered sweaty under breasts before. Hopefully not
The
our
boob
own.
pit.
Tummy rolls anywhere else that needs to be lifted or moved. You got to lift and move your cock. Wash underneath your cock.
Well, I heard when I was a youngin that the penis is the cleanest part of the male body. We must wash it very well.
Or you have a partner that washes it for you.
All right. What else is dirty here? So behind the ears is one, right? Okay. So that was my first guess.
Was it?
I said behind the ears because that's the one I was thinking about. What else though?
Well, I guess folds counts as like 4 and 5.
Well, what about looks like belly button? Where's that on the list?
I don't see that on this list.
She
So-
said your belly button is a bit of an obscure location where moisture can build up, can cause a buildup of bacteria. But I don't know where that is on the list. So I don't see these
What about
listed.
your ass neck?
What is the ass neck?
yeah, explain that, dope stench. What's the ass neck for our
We don't
viewers?
have time to get into that.
So it's interesting. Do you know in the Middle Ages, people did not bathe normally. You're aware of that, so I'm speaking, primarily of Europe, and I mean maybe if you're a history researcher out there and you know more about this, email the show. But in the Middle Ages, peasants would commonly not bathe often, and when they did bathe, they would bathe with their clothes on. So that was an opportunity to clean their clothes.
Yes.
So I don't know how they banged. Obviously they were. I mean, maybe they just take their, their britches down, but whatever. But they didn't
Stinky
change.
britches.
They didn't
You got
change, and they
stinky
didn't bathe
britches.
a lot. You look at notable figures throughout history, and there's a lot of people that didn't bathe at all.
Ever?
Well, I was talking earlier. I've been getting interested in the story of Miyamoto Musashi, who was a Japanese samurai and arguably the best swordsman in ancient Japanese history. Well, I guess that's not that ancient. That's 350 plus years ago. But apparently that dude, for all his philosophy on swordsmanship and the arts and everything, he's also regarded as a philosopher. The prevailing story is that he did not bathe at all.
Gross!
Yeah, he was a Ronin, and he went
right.
and he was welcomed at very big clan, to train. And I mean, he was highly regarded, and obviously
very
he's
interesting.
a well renowned and known figure in Japanese history.
But he wasn't invited to a lot of parties, and he wasn't very pleasant to be around. And
Yeah, I don't know. There is some evidence that he was turned down by women because of his hygiene
Weird.
at times. But yeah,
So do you know the Stinky Britches song from South Park, right? The Marilyn Manson took a chef song, that Stinky Britches.
I've been watching
Oh,
more
I missed
South
that.
That's
Park
from like
lately.
the early years. It was hilarious, but
Back when they were still
anyways.
killing Kenny.
yes,
they stopped doing
All right.
that.
Jimmy.
I just got to say, I rewatched the pandemic special the other day, and that's got to be one of the greatest episodes of South Park ever.
Delta Plus rewards program variant of COVID.
So Randy Marsh hears about the connection between a bat and humans, and he has a flashback to when
Yes.
if you recall, where he met Mickey Mouse, the
a great
vulgar
episode.
leader of Disney. And he's like, "Oh, fuck you, we're gonna go fuck bats," and then they have this split scene where he's nailing a bat, and then they found out, we determined it wasn't a bat and a human link, and he's all relieved, and he starts dancing around. They said it was a pangolin. And then he has a flashback where Mickey Mouse is like, "Fuck yeah, we need to fuck some more exotic animals. We're gonna fuck a pangolin." Oh. And then split scene, Randy's fucking a pangolin. Good stuff.
2024, Mickey Mouse goes public domain. Can't wait for that.
Explain.
All right.
Explain.
HuffPost. What's it?
Public domain. How's that?
Yeah, he's falling off the freaking 90-some year public domain.
So wait, we can
crap.
use his voice and likeness for like
soon. Yeah.
anything without paying any royalties.
How is Disney going to allow that?
I know. Well, they've already extended the copyright by law how many times? They can't do it again. It would be.
Yeah, I think they've made plenty of money off of that.
All right. Yeah. Well, yeah, but they're gonna have to check it out. Yeah. So Mickey Mouse soon to be public domain. We'll have to cover that in 2024. All right. So we got. I don't know how many more of these we got here from Mongoose. Looks like Jimmy Fallon, Stephen Colbert, molesting a statue. What's your top pick, Mongoose?
Well, the story about Jimmy Fallon, he recently had a one-liner about Marjorie Taylor Greene. And he responded to Greene's remarks at Turning Point USA's America Fest. He said, "Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a meeting with Skylar, Lord of the Serpent Creatures." And maybe I'm missing, because you're rushing me here, muskrat. But it reminds me of, so I recently saw, they had the roast of Justin Bieber, and this probably happened a few years ago, but they had, who's the guy from Saturday Night Live? There's a lot of them, aren't
You got
there?
to get a little more specific.
God, funny guy. But anyway,
Oh, that guy.
what's Ann? Who's that really stupid? Who's that woman from Fox News? Ann Coulter.
Oh, she's not Fox News. Isn't that author and culture? She's like an author or something. All right.
Yeah. She's like a conservative author.
Yeah.
But anyway, he made the comment. It was a roast, right? So they're roasting everybody, and he said, "Ann Coulter, if you're here, who's back at home scaring away the crows?" So I just love how they roast that.
What kicked that one off?
It was a roast of Justin Bieber.
How do we
And-
get to start talking about that?
Well, that's what this reminds me of, right?
Oh.
So Ann Coulter, if you're here, who's back home scaring away the crows? Like she's a scarecrow, right?
Yeah. No, I
She
get,
looks
I
like
get.
one.
Yeah, she does. Yeah, I get you.
So now Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's in with the Lord of the Serpent creatures, I guess.
They're all serpents. They're all lizard people. All right. Well, that's I think that's the headlines for December 30th, 2023. If we forgot any, we'll catch them after the break.
Yeah, but we have one here about. So you glossed over the
That's what I'm talking about.
Stephen Colbert is stunned by latest twist in the Rudy Giuliani.
Oh
case.
yes, we gotta cover Rudy.
So a couple weeks ago, a jury ordered the former New York City mayor to pay $148 million to two Georgia election workers he defamed while he was serving as Trump's personal attorney after the 2020 election. And Colbert said, obviously he needs money fast. I recommend he drill for oil in his skull.
Oh,
Nice.
So that's great. I love that. Do you think they'll
snap.
find? You think they'll find oil in
he
his
did. He was leaking oil a couple of years ago. Remember? All right.
that was in his skull. That was on it.
This is December 30th, 2023. Email us showpacketsandbolts@gmail.com. Packetsandbolts@gmail.com. We'll be back after this.
Hank Carlson here, proprietor of Baked Beans and Books and Furries Wear Boots. Did you ever wonder how many bites it would take to get to the bottom of a giant vat of baked beans? Well, I tried it once, but all the beans kept collapsing in on the hole I was making. I ate the whole vat. Stop on down to Baked Beans and Books to get yourself a heaping handful of baked beans and peruse the selection of books. While you're at it, stop at Furries Wear Boots. 11111 State Street, Madison, Wisconsin. Baked Beans and Books. When books just aren't enough.
And we're back. It is Saturday, December 30th, 2023. 2023 year in review. Email the show packetsandbolts@gmail.com. Packetsandbolts@gmail.com. We're going to get some emails, but first we're going to make a drink, I think. Mongoose looked up something
Whip something up.
during the break.
Oh yeah.
It's getting creepy.
This cocktail we have for you this evening to round out 2023. It's called the Smoky Agave Whisper.
Whisper. Put this in your mouth.
That's right, folks. And we mixed this up before we did this here, but we all got our drinks in our hands, and this is the Smoky Agave Whisper. 2 ounces of tequila. You can substitute mezcal. You want a smoky flavor. 1 ounce lime juice. Of course, fresh limes is the only way to go. 1/2 ounce of agave syrup to sweeten. 2 dashes of Angostura bitters for complexity. A splash of ginger beer for a spicy kick, and of course some ice to chill. Yeah, so, prepare the glass. Use a highball or an old-fashioned glass. Combine the ingredients. Add ice. Top with ginger beer. We mixed ours in there, but garnish with a lime twist. We didn't do that because, well, we're ghetto. And enjoy. So the cocktail brings out the smokiness of the tequila, balanced with the sweetness of the agave syrup, the spice of the ginger beer, and the classic bitterness of Angostura. It's an excellent choice for those who want to enjoy a cocktail and round out 2023. That's the Spicy Agave Whisper.
Why does
Gross.
mine have backwash crackers in it?
Salute. That's a.
It is good.
That is a.
It's like a
Contradiction.
It's like a margarita mule. I mean,
Yeah,
basically,
yeah,
it's a
yeah.
margarita with ginger beer.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
But it's good. These can be dangerous, so drink responsibly because they're so fucking good.
Whisper.
Happy New Year.
All right, I was going to bring champagne, but decided against that.
Oh, I got champagne in the fridge.
All right, ready for tomorrow. All right, if you're listening to this tomorrow, Happy New Year, New Year's Eve, I guess, whatever. You know. We're the eve of Eve today. It's the Eve's Eve.
No New Year's Eve party is complete without packets and bolts in the background.
All right, bringing AM radio to podcasting since 2019.
You're having a big house party, a big rager, throw this on.
That's right.
Take a break from your heavy metal music or your country and put on the packets and bolts.
And headbang and crowd surf to us.
Yes. All right. Well, we got some emails here. Let's take that.
Electronic mails.
Yeah, been a while since we had the
Yeah,
emails.
we were sans emails for the last couple of shows. I think October was the last time we read emails. But all right, we got select 2 here, possibly a third. Hammy writes, Hammy, double M.
Like hamster.
Are you going to discuss the Middle East conflict? It is about to blow up big time. Well, I guess we're going to take a wait and see approach what happens over the New Year's. And does this expand into World War III?
You know, for the last couple months, I've been hearing nothing but Iranian-backed militia, Hezbollah, etc., are shooting missiles and rockets at U.S. forces, and yet nothing happens.
Well, they've been shooting each other, yeah. So Israel fired white phosphorus into the Hezbollah area. Hezbollah's been shooting missiles back. It's basically like they're just kind of taking minimal fire. I don't know what the end result is here.
Everybody's shooting at everybody else.
Yeah, basically. It's going to be, could this blow up? Could this become an Iranian conflict with us? But what's funny is whenever you hear the Iranian-backed, what's it called, rebels or whatever they call the Hezbollah, why don't they say the United States-backed Israeli military?
They probably do in
Because
other countries.
It's us. It's all us.
In media in other countries, they probably do say that, but not in ours.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's,
Well, I mean, we back Israel, but Israel's got a pretty strong military.
But it's only from our backing. They'd be nothing without our money. We're basically propping them up. They're like a puppet nation. But here's the problem. They also, because of the Whitney Webb's reporting, they've basically co-opted the American government. They're blackmailing all of our leaders, and they've got their hands up our ass while we think we've got our hands up their ass. So it's kind of like a double reach around.
so basically, don't ever smell anybody's fingers.
We need a political cartoon of that. It's like
Yeah,
the
it's
snake
like it's
eating
like
its tail.
in football terms, it's when the center shits his pants and then the quarterback has to get under center.
Does that happen in football?
Ask,
I always
what's his name?
I always like to bring up the story of Jim McMahon
Yes, there you go.
with the Bears years ago in the 80s. I think this was before their Super Bowl, but the center shit his pants, and he said to McMahon, he's like, you might want to watch your hands. I just crap my pants. And McMahon called a timeout, went to the sidelines, and said, the center shit his pants. I'm not going back out there until he cleans up. So they had the second string
So
center go
disgusting.
in, and the center changed his pants, and the
It's
rest
so
is history.
disgusting.
It happens.
I guess, but it's still nasty. All right. All right. This is a nice tune to listen to while we discuss such topics. Sanzi, or Sanzi, Sanzi. I have been waiting for a while now, and I think 2024 is the year of the end.
Of what?
I don't know. It ends with the ellipses. But, Mongoose, does your prediction state anything about the ending of the world in 2024?
No.
All right. You think we're not going to end in 2024?
No.
Okay. You don't think we're not?
No.
So wait, double negative. Let's try this a different way. Is the world going to end in 2024?
What are you asking me for? I don't have the missile launch codes.
We're not asking
The
you
missile
because we
launch
think
codes.
you know what's going on. We're asking your opinion. In your
The
opinion,
world or our civilization? Our civilization, maybe, not the world.
I don't know, but I will say that the presidential election this coming year is going to be interesting.
It's gonna be a shitstorm.
it's going to be hilarious.
All right. Let's see here. So here's one we got from a couple weeks ago. And they want to know how would someone get into InfoSec without being a wokey commie? Now, I don't know about you, Mongoose or Dubstench, but do you think that InfoSec is filled with communists and woke people? And we must define wokeism. So the original term woke was for knowing basically the game is rigged and the man controls everything. That's the original version, but woke has now become basically politically correct. So, do you think that you can only become an InfoSec professional by being woke, aka politically correct, and or a commie?
No.
No, I don't think that's a prerequisite. I think that the wokeism that they're talking about is become a blanket term for anybody that doesn't look like they espouse the normal conservative views that you would come to associate with a professional or a profession like, IT or any other profession, right? So I've never been to Black Hat. I don't think you guys have either, right? But if you look at the videos and look at the people that go to Black Hat, there's a lot of people with colored hair. They might be wearing spikes on their wrists or their necks, like
Punk, very punk.
Yeah, so I think that people see that and they associate that with woke, but without talking to these people and finding out what their political viewpoints are. I'm sure there's communists in InfoSec, but I'm sure there's also a lot of capitalists and
Right. Commies everywhere. They're
I know
parties.
people I've used to worked with who are normal looking people that go to Black Hat, and they're in InfoSec. I don't think that's a prerequisite.
All right. Well, let's discuss the fact that security, by and large, is usually a conservative industry. If you're into like physical security, you're probably going to be on the right side of things, the right wing side. It's a very conservative nature. White hats some people might say, the traditional InfoSec people, like the ex-cops that become like an InfoSec person, mustache, a crew cut, they might be a right wing. But the Black Hats generally are more open-minded because that's how they get the creativity to try to do the various hacks that they do. Gray hats could be a combination of that. I don't think any of that has to do with being woke necessarily, but they might be. And then communism, I don't even know if that is even in our industry anymore. But is there communists in our industry?
Probably. I don't know. There's people of all different political persuasions. But if you look at hacktivism generally, I think a lot of people that are hacktivists are probably anti-establishment or like some of the, what they're hacking against or that they don't believe in. Maybe some of the wokeism comes from there.
Maybe. All right, if you're a woke communist working in InfoSec, write the show, packetsandbolts@gmail.com, packetsandbolts@gmail.com. We do want to hear from you, and we'll give you an exclusive interview if you are a woke communist. Oh, I just got an email.
What?
Another email.
What?
We're just rolling in, folks.
No, not this one. All right, wrong inbox. All right, so
Hoping for a fresh one.
yes, I would love to explore the world of the woke communist InfoSec opportunist. I think that would be interesting. All right, there's not many communist nations around anymore, but this is Saturday, December 30th, 2023. That was the emails, along with our drink. All right, it's time for the year in review. What have we learned? As John Lennon said, what did he say? He said, another year's over, a new one's just begun. What have you done or something? Yeah.
What have we done? What have you become?
Oh, well, let's see. What did I do this year? Made bad life choices, and let's see here. Oh, we did learn Painted Black finally. I've been wanting to play that song out for a long time, and I achieved that goal. I consider that an accomplishment.
Yeah, but was it really, I'm not delving in, nor do I expect you to divulge everything, but was it really a bad life choice?
Oh, no, that wasn't. No, other things.
No, I'm just saying, some philosophers would say never regret what you've done.
Oh, right, yeah. No, that's just a funny way of stating it. So the real estate market is quite interesting, but I was able to successfully sell something, but barely at a gain because I spent way too much and it took me way too long. And then I bought another thing. So we'll see how that goes in a couple of years. So you gotta wonder how that's all gonna turn out.
It'll be a learning experience.
Yeah, and since the housing market might take a dive soon, who knows? Who knows what'll happen? Or maybe it'll just keep going up. But I don't know. Guess we'll have to revisit that. Where is the Mongoose, the Sears predictions? Are we going to have to come back on the flip side of January 2024 and review those again?
My crystal ball is in the shop right
Oh,
now,
okay.
so I don't have any predictions. It's got some issues.
All right.
That magic 8
But
ball.
I got in front of me the top stories from 2023 from NPR.
Ooh, NPR.
Should we roll through these?
We can roll through those.
I'm going to be selective because the first one's stupid. But this is notable. So, published April 24th, 2023, Tucker Carlson ousted at Fox News following the network's $787 million settlement. I don't know if that was a settlement with him, but of course, after Tucker Carlson left, he became even more powerful,
More powerful.
depending on who you talk to. I'll say, whether or not you agree with Tucker Carlson, he seems like a pretty down-to-earth dude. I saw a video where he was fishing in Central Park in New York City, and some guy came up with his phone recording him and said, "You can't fish there." And Tucker said, "Yeah, I can." And the guy said, "No, you can." And then Tucker recited the law, and he was super friendly. And he was kind of looking at this guy like, "Are you going to stab me or shoot me?" But after he realized it was cordial and the guy let down his guard, they had a nice conversation. So he seems like a pretty nice dude.
Well, the thing about Tucker, let's just be mindful of why he got fired. Because there was the official reason, which I can't remember what they said. Was it the Dominion voting thing? Is that what they said that he did? Even though there's internal documents that show Tucker actually pushed back against continued pushing of the Dominion propaganda piece that said that it was fake voting machine stuff. What really looks like happened is as he lashed out more and more against Big Pharma, which is a huge, contributor to the Fox empire. All of a sudden, he didn't have a job anymore. So what does that tell you?
Imagine that, yeah.
So you can be one of their toadies for a long time, and I consider Tucker a propaganda machine for most of his career. And if you listen to his words, and if you believe him, he said he realized what he was doing, and he decided to kind of back away from that, and he started talking more about Big Pharma and other things. I don't know if he really had an awakening or not, but he did start talking about Big Pharma, the vaccine crap, all that stuff. And once that happened, he ended up getting booted from his show. So that just goes to show you, is it really free speech?
Well, either whatever side of the fence you think he's on, or agree or disagree with him. I like the way that guy breaks it down. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, and I think it hit the nail on the head. I mean, he wasn't espousing the network's talking points, and a lot of it started to contradict the message that they were trying to force feed people, and that's why they cut ties with him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, remember, well, for those that don't remember, MSNBC, on the eve of the Iraq war, everyone's saying we got to go to war. Donahue had the most popular show on MSNBC at the time, and he was the only one bringing on anti-war guests. And then they told him that if he's going to have an anti-war guest, he had to have 2 or 3 pro-war guests. And he listened. And even with that, they canned him, citing ratings, even though he was the top-rated MSNBC show, because he was saying, why are we going to war with Iraq? They didn't even have anything to do with 9/11. So that is how this works. We are not living in a media-free society, or a free media society.
I remember years ago watching Fox News, and they would always have a Democratic or a Democrat kind of, pundit. Because this wasn't news. These are pundits, right? And they're just regurgitating like the Fox
heads.
News talking points. But they wanted to always, they've always like suggested that they're fair and balanced, and we know that's not true. Nor is any major media news outlet. But they'd always have a Democrat on. And he's always fucking stupid as shit because they handpicked him to basically
Be the fall guy.
Yeah,
Look like a stupid idiot.
I mean, that's the facade, right? So NPR, by the way, I'm just going to interject this here because NPR doesn't have it here, but how can we forget the Titan submersible?
Oh, the sub.
I mean, quite possibly the greatest news story of the year.
The greatest blunder of a billionaire's fortunes.
And what did we learn from that?
Stay away from the Titanic.
There's so many lessons. If you fancy yourself an amateur submariner, probably, don't pick your own weird ass design to go down to the Titanic.
And be aware that there are unmanned, robotic, remote controlled alternatives to that. That if
Oh,
it
but
gets
you wanted
smashed,
to be real close. Real close.
wow.
If you're filthy rich and you're on a waiting list and your time finally comes up to where you can go down and see the wreckage of the Titanic, you might want to check out what you're riding in. This dude had a PlayStation controller and all the bolts weren't secured. And
It's so bad. As network people, we just laugh our ass off at that controller thing. And what really bugs me, and I think I mentioned this when we talked about this when it happened, but what really bugged me is there's a bunch of people in the forum saying, and it technically wasn't a PlayStation, it was an off-brand like Logitech. They said, don't be ripping on that so much. The United States Marine Corps uses controllers on subs. And I'm like, okay,
They do
guys.
fly drones too, yeah.
There's a couple things here. Number one, that is not the only thing they use to control the sub. That is not the only control. They have physical controls. And second of all, I'm sure it's not an off-the-shelf Logitech effing Bluetooth controller. Do you know how unreliable Bluetooth is?
And I think we covered this in our podcast about this when we spoke at length about it. But when they advertised for people to join that company prior to or even immediately following the disaster,
Yeah.
they said one of the qualifications to become a part or work with this company is you had to be an expert in half duplex communications.
because they can only send one at a time, one way at a time through the water.
You have to be expert in half duplex.
Yeah, because of the way of the transmission, they couldn't do duplex. That's common, but yes, the fact that they're, you're going to want proven. They also had a track record of hiring inexperienced people out of college. Do you want those people dealing with your, how many feet was it under the?
20,000 leagues under the sea, Muskrat.
What's a league equal again?
Oh, you're gonna make me
I
look
can't
this
remember. Great book, by the way. Jules Verne, way ahead of his time. Way ahead of his time.
So the term league, by the way, has been used to represent different distances over time. A league is considered to be approximately 3 miles. So 20,000 leagues would be 60,000 miles.
Yeah, I don't think that's how deep it was. That wasn't that deep.
Yeah, that's getting a little deep for.
Anyways, great author, Jules Verne.
One story: don't build your own sub and go floating around.
Yeah,
really deep in the
and my
ocean.
heart has always gone out to the kid whose dad booked the. He probably had no
yeah,
say,
it
and he's just
sucks.
trusting his dad. This is cool, but I mean, jeez. At least they felt no pain. Anyway,
Yeah.
The solace. All right.
So in May 20th, they did have a remarkable, just coincidentally, this story came out May 20th, NPR. A remarkable new view of the Titanic shipwreck is here, thanks to deep sea mappers. I don't know if that information and the data, 715,000 still images, if that predated the disaster. When did that disaster happen? Wasn't that summerish?
It was around there.
Something like that.
Was it July or?
Well, anyway, the view we have of the Titanic now, as of this year, is more detailed exponentially than we've ever had before. So,
Wow.
I mean, we can just look at the images. We don't have to ride down a submarine.
Yeah, I have no
Why-
desire to go down to the.
Why do we need to go down there and look at it? Everybody knows what it looks like
Yeah.
before it sunk, and of course now it's going to be rusted, covered in coral, and all jacked up. Like what's to see?
So, some asshole in published on May 24th, new story. A visitor from Hawaii was in Yellowstone, and he tried to help a newborn animal, newborn bison, rejoin its mother. They had to
mistake.
euthanize the baby bison after it was handled by the guest because the herd rejected it.
Why was he touching a newborn?
Well, his heart was in the right place. He tried to help the newborn go by the herd, but I'm sure they would have wrangled up their newborn. They're probably like, "Oh shit, humans! Like, stay away from them." They probably were trying to feed. I don't know.
So it's like Steve Irwin. Like, don't mess around with like other animals. Like, just leave them alone.
Crikey!
Get yourself a fucking cat and stay away from the bison.
Stick to domesticated animals.
Don't play with bison. Don't go grabbing the world's most angriest alligator. Don't try to twirl a snake in the air or tackle a hyena. Leave them alone. You're asking for problems.
Yeah.
So June 10th, 2023, coastal biomedical labs are bleeding more horseshoe crabs with little accountability. So the animals have blue blood, and since the 60s, these companies, big companies, have been using it to detect bacterial toxins. So they have a use for this blue blood from the horseshoe crabs, but there's no oversight. So they're just bleeding horseshoe crabs. Maybe 2024 is the year that horseshoe crabs end up on the endangered species list.
Wow.
Sad story.
Wow.
July 27th, 2023, U.S. recovered non-human biologics from UFO crash sites,
Dun,
former
dun,
Intel
dun.
official says. And that's another important story, right, guys? We heard about, down in South America, they supposedly, was it Mexican Congress, they unveiled the corpse of an alien, and they talked about it.
Right. Of
Yeah,
course.
what happened with that
Of course, we say that it was nothing, and it's good that another nation is sticking up for these stories, because we're just going to keep saying this is already determined to not be anything special, because we just have to keep propagandizing ourselves. Now, I don't know if this thing's an alien or not. I'm
Yeah.
just glad someone's saying something other than the same BS
Well, other countries take that stuff way more. Well, government's more open about it than ours.
than we
is.
are. Yeah, we just keep lying
Yeah,
about it.
combine that with we've had more outspokenness from former intelligence officials in the United States talking about these things. In fact, this was I don't have the entire transcript, but apparently it went back and forth in Congress. Wasn't widely reported, but of course, meanwhile, and we did a podcast on this with the balloons overhead and the UFOs, which I don't think they call them UFOs anymore. They call them
UAP.
Yeah, UAPs.
Yeah.
So is 2024 the year of the alien invasion?
Well,
quote
I
unquote?
thought Stephen Greer said that if we didn't sound the alarm on the shadow government by the end
Yeah.
of 2023, something big was going to
Yeah.
happen, and it
I
hasn't
thought-
happened yet.
I thought something big was supposed to happen in 2023. I thought
Well,
somebody
right.
has.
A lot of people think that it's coming, but here's the deal. I think that I think the people are pushing back on, I think we're wising up. And so that's why they haven't pulled the trigger yet. But they're keeping it in their pocket, man. They're ready to pull the UFO invasion trigger. But people are so skeptical about anything they see now, because they're starting to realize that all it is lies after lies after lies. So I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know.
Well, for one, we'll welcome our new alien overlords.
Yeah. Right.
And here at Packets and Bolts, we'll do anything we can to help them out. Just please don't kill us.
Well, speaking of Tucker Carlson, and I
And
haven't,
aliens.
well, and I haven't looked
Lizard
deeply
people?
into this, but he after he got launched out by Fox News, apparently he told, I don't know if it was on a podcast or whatever, but it came out where he said, I believe it was a podcast, I don't know whose it was, but he said that there are things that he does not tell his wife about things that he's learned about aliens because they are so deeply disturbing. And the conjecture that I've read, at least, suggests that maybe we're being farmed by aliens.
Yeah, that's an option I was thinking about, because I started thinking about, like, what is it if you've got an advanced species and there's a whole planet of people, and then I also believe that we've had several cycles of civilization. Is that the culling? Is that the meat grinder incident, the harvest? And what if there's multiple planets of this that happen and the herders come around? And then I thought to myself, why wouldn't they just always blow us up all the time? And I thought to myself, what about the farmers that really take good care of their cows? They're really nice to them, like the Japanese, and so they're giving them massages.
Before they slit their throat.
like
The
so-
Wagyu humans.
Yeah.
Right, like some of those people that are taken up into UFOs and like jacked off. What if that's part of the?
So, are these people complaining about that, or
Well, they're harvested. Their semen is, and then some women their eggs are taken.
like, hey,
supposedly.
you get to go on a ride on a UFO and you get a handy? What do
Now
you
that
say?
would be a breeding program. Like we breed cows for like what's it called? Angus, one of the biggest strains of So think about this. What if this is what's happening?
Or, maybe it's not anything biological. Maybe they're feeding off our energy.
Well, right. No, exactly. I don't think it's like right. I don't think they're making cold cuts out of us. But did I ever tell you on this show? I don't remember, but The Lensman. Read The Lensman, the original first book. Okay, the original first book, because he later redid it and made like a prequel. But read the original first book, and one of the first things the Lensmen take on is he helps a lizard creature that's trying to take out this entity that controls a planet with their mind. And once they get to the underground layer, it shows them ripping people to like just completely devouring their whole essence. And the whole civilization was living. They had power plants and everything. And they were all controlled, but subtly. And they didn't know this. So the lensmen helped come and wipe out the weird creatures that were devouring them. And I'm like, that's happening on Earth.
Could be. I can only speculate that we're going to hear more about this type of stuff in 2024.
I could also see this like as the government not like disclosing this because people are nuts. Like we're going to tell everybody like, hey, there's aliens. Like people lose their minds. They have looting, throwing things on, throwing things on windows. Like I don't think of the majority of the American population can handle the truth, at least in a responsible fashion without getting all crazy.
I agree with that.
So they just want to not have a shit show of a country going on because people can't handle that there's aliens.
But I think there's also a lot of hidden tech that's our, technology that we're either reverse engineering or whatever.
Oh yeah, but you can't like release just that.
And so they have to pretend and they have to act like it's aliens, but then not have like they have to like act like it's an alien, but yet deny that aliens exist, and then just gaslight everyone while they develop all this technology.
It's a tightly woven tapestry.
And do you know what got me believing that more than anything? I always had that kind of thought. Did you hear the multi-billion-dollar World War II project? And you can look this up right now if you want to. I can't remember how much they spent to create. They were having a problem where most of their artillery shells were missing, and they wanted to create a proximity fuse so that when a shell was close to a plane, it would blow up rather than relying on someone actually hitting them because, it's going to be tough. And they miniaturized vacuum tubes that could survive the launch of an artillery shell. They spent in World War II times, multi-billion. You can check out this money. I can't even believe it. And they were able to create that technology. The Germans had looked into it and gave up on it. So if we did that in World War II, how much other shit got created? And that's when the microchip came out shortly after that. So that's where a lot of our shit came in. So pretending alien spacecraft crashed is one way to act like, hey, the Russians, hey, we've got this super secret technology. Really, we just developed it with tons of spending. That was one of my theories.
Well,
but I don't know. It was
insane. I can see that being valid because then they won't come after like American scientists or anything. Thinking they can flip them.
Right.
So we can't. There's no turncoat kind of aspect to it because it's dead aliens. Like.
But it's interesting, too, because there's a narrative out there in terms of military ordnance and technology that there are certain areas of military technology that we are, at least the narrative is that the United States is not the front runner, right? So Russia is always talking about their hypersonic missiles, and I think China has them, too. That's an area that at least the talking point is that we're racing to catch up with that technology, that we don't necessarily have an adequate defense to it, and we don't have those same technologies.
Right.
Even though that our defense spending is and we've talked about this on previous podcasts, but it's our defense spending per year is more than like all the NATO countries combined. and even if you factor in Russia, or even China, I think China's number 2. But if you look at a bar graph, I mean, we spent so much money on defense.
Right. And all of our like missile defense, et cetera, was basically made irrelevant when the hypersonics came out. And of course, we always have to have the boogeyman, so we keep spending. And that's why.
Well, think about this, too, in terms of world politics, especially in financials, right? We've talked about how the U.S. dollar, that's the standard worldwide. Our national debt, which China owns most of it, I mean, we're not in a good place financially. The only thing that props us up is our defense. Like, we are the world police operating on behalf of the people that own our economy.
The world.
So
Didn't David Bowie buy the...
We can't ever demilitarize because it's just going to equate with maybe sanctions by other countries, or the dollar's going to bottom out and those BRICS countries are going to institute their own standards of currency. I mean, the only thing that's propping up the American economy and the American dollar is our ability to go fight wars on other people's behalf.
So basically we're like hired heavies.
Yeah, and there's no changing it.
We could transform, but will we? I don't know. I don't know. I put the link to that $1 billion project in the Slack.
In the show notes.
Not the show notes, but yeah, the $1 billion secret, the proximity fuse of World War II. So,
Damn.
yeah, and I don't know, you have to adjust that for inflation. I don't know what that would be now. But, no, I get what you're saying there, but I think we could, if we became a more if we embraced the multipolar world, we could transition out of this crap because we're shifting our economy so much into the defense only that it has no other legs to stand on, which is going to be its own problem. So, and we're not even getting our money's worth for our defense. Our shit's way less effective. Talk to, Colonel Wilkinson or whatever. He talks about how our Navy is pretty much a sitting duck. If we ever got into a real conflict, they've got these torpedoes that can follow the wake, explode underneath the keel, and basically break our carriers. It'd be done, toast. And so, like, if we got into a real war, they would just do these, like, other types of attacks that we're not really used to because we're still in a World War II mindset of, like, sail thousands of soldiers by ship, land them on a beach, and like that's how you conduct war. But it's so easy now to take our Navy out, is what this former military colonel was saying, that we'd be helpless if we got into a real conflict, a real one.
Well, I mean, carriers in a military sense were never designed to be stationary or to
combat themselves, really.
To deploy by themselves. Like, they're always part of carrier fleets. So you have a series of destroyers of different types, battleships, and they're supposed to be surrounding the carriers, and they're supposed to provide the defense for the carriers.
Yeah, sure, but it's still.
But the point is, we don't have the technologies necessary to combat these things, and I think that's the point. Is the narrative, at least, is that we don't have those technologies where we might.
And drone warfare is morphing now. So if you're following Ukraine, I just heard this really interesting story. Who was talking about it? Scott Ritter, the former weapons inspector during the Gulf War, if you remember that. He was speaking out against Saddam. He knew didn't have those weapons, but anyways. They're doing miniaturized, so they couldn't get, the Russians couldn't get enough of the official big drones that cost a lot of money. They started 3D printing and creating miniature drones and dropping explosives. They would just pilot them over there, drop explosives, or kamikaze drones, and then it didn't matter because they were cheap.
Yeah, they're so small you can't shoot them.
Right, and then they started getting into jam wars. Now both Ukrainians and Russians are doing these little drones. And then they would jam them. And then sometimes it would cause them to lose communication. It would sit there until battery dies. And then the other side would grab it and then reprogram it to go and launch the other way.
And shoot big nets in the air, too, to like
that too, yeah.
Get them out of the air.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think awesome. 2024 is going to give rise to more anti-drone technology. So that's the wave of the future. They're good for recon. They're good for attack. And I'll say, like, you mentioned the Russians doing the 3D printing. I think the Ukrainians might have actually been the ones to start doing that first. Because I know when the war broke out, I watched some documentary or some snippet somewhere they were talking about how people were 3D printing their own drones. So that's out there too. But of course, we're sending tons of drones over there. Like, didn't like one of our more recent podcasts, we went down the whole list of all the budget, the bills that we passed to aid Ukraine. It's like we're averaging 2 to 3 massive bills a month through 2023, and we've spent billions and millions of dollars. We went over there, right?
And we could, meanwhile, we won't fix homelessness or any other problems at home. So if you wonder if you're living in a failed state, what question do you have to ask yourself? We're willing to throw billions of dollars at foreign problems, but not our own.
So build weapons or cool drones that the government can buy up from you, and then that'll solve your homelessness problem.
Yes, I also saw a recent study that said 50% of unhoused people are working. And so what kind of economy are we saying we have if you can have 50% of your homeless population having a job, but they can't afford a place to live? That's a problem. That's a problem. So this is the state of the United States in 2023. And to go over some of the shows that we covered this year, January last year, we covered the gun control in Illinois. I don't know. We probably should have followed up. I don't know how that's going anymore. The China, Russia, and balloons oh my in February.
Kind of touched on that, yeah.
The BRICS of the banking crisis in May. Interview with Michael Horn to follow up on the UFOs in July.
That was our second interview with Michael.
Yes,
right?
we'll have to talk to him in early 2024 because there's a lot still going on there. Sis Admin Day, of course, happens every July. Always a fun party. Return of COVID, August. How's that going? They're still talking about the newest variant being super...
yeah, in fact, recently, I think I shared this with you kind of off to the side several weeks ago, but there are some news outlets that are reporting the new variants that are out there, and I have to look up what it's called. Dubstank, we know from South Park that there's a future variant that's going to be the Delta
Plus Rewards Program.
COVID variant. Yeah, that's coming. Maybe not next year, but it's on the horizon. But the newer variants they're saying are that our immune system is not equipped to battle them.
Okay, Bill Gates.
So we need to build drones.
I'm not
to
buying
fight them.
Sorry, I'm not buying it. But yeah, so basically, if they manage to get us to buy that hook, line, and sinker, then that's just the rationale for everybody to go continue getting vaccinated.
Now, in October, we covered once more Onto the Breach about the plethora of breaches that just keep happening. Breach here, breach there, everywhere, breach.
More of that in 2024, yeah.
Yeah, we could do a whole hour on just going over the highlights of all of the critical vulnerabilities and hacks that have happened in 2023.
We could have like a breach of the month.
Yes, we should have the breach of the month.
Yeah, maybe in 2024, that's a new segment, yeah.
In November, James Corbett talked about a whole bunch of stuff, whether it's the media matrix or any other things. You can see his stuff on the CorbettReport.com. And then, of course, we talked to Midnight Swami in December, just a week ago or so, about Sweetwater and his experiences there. Sweetwater, which I think is a lot of our favorite online music company to buy things from. However, I've been noticing a little bit of dip in the sales, customer service since I don't know what. I don't know if it's from the purchase of the new owners or the COVID or whatever it is, but.
Yeah, and this is, speaking of which, just a personal story, but I forgot to bring this up with Midnight Swami when we were on that. But I think that the service department and like the technicians they have at Sweetwater are good. And I have an old bass guitar that the intonation was off. I mean, this guitar, it survived a house fire. And the whole house burned down, and I had a firefighter was managed to retrieve the bass, and it was in perfect condition. So I called it the Phoenix. It rose from the ashes, right? But I started having issues with it years later after playing many gigs. And I sent it into Sweetwater's service department because I had done a lot of business with Sweetwater. And they were good, and they looked at it, but they shipped it back, and they said, there's nothing we can do. They said, Mongoose, you have soft neck. I've never heard that before. But what they were saying is that the neck had been so warped and deformed, probably some of that from the fire that, and the moisture from the fire department, that they couldn't salvage it. So I took it to a local guitar repair shop, or at least I discussed it with the local luthier who's very good. And he believed that, with some expenditure that they could fix it. I mean, it would be replacement of parts, and probably the neck would have to be replaced, but... I guess my point is that I didn't feel like, even though I always feel like I have a good experience when Sweetwater's communicative, I don't believe that they looked at all the options, and they were like, hey, we cannot source parts direct from the manufacturer, which blows my mind because you're Sweetwater.
Yeah.
And yet I have a local luthier who says he can work to source parts from.
Well, they may have just said that because they don't want to, they're not sure they can 100% do it. They don't want to.
And that's why locals are always, you get a professional local, they'll make anything happen. He'll hand carve it if he needs to.
Or they'll tell you, this isn't worth your time, or we can't do this.
I want a whittled bass neck. Can you whittle me a bass neck?
Well, I couldn't. I don't have that skill. Maybe in 2024 I'll start whittling. I whittled a lot as a kid. Spears.
I used to whittle.
I used to build punji traps on the beaches.
You didn't, put them with dung on them, did you, so that they'd infect people?
That's a violation of Geneva Convention law.
Okay, so regular
I was very aware of that as a young child, not to violate Geneva Convention law.
Really?
So a pit with spikes is not against the Geneva Convention?
Well, I mean, it's like a gray area.
but rubbing it in feces is a violation.
I was 12 and I thought it was okay.
Okay.
I know better now, Muskrat.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if you're experiencing soft neck, first of all, reach out to your physician, but then write us packetsandbolts@gmail.com, packetsandbolts@gmail.com. Tell us about your soft neck.
Yes, what I didn't try is rubbing crushed up blue pills all over the guitar. That might have helped.
Oh, so guess what?
what?
I was at a restaurant the other day. Did I tell? Okay, here's what happened. Hold on.
They spiked your drink with Viagra.
I went to the restroom, and I noticed. Well, okay, I don't know if I should tell the whole scenario or if I should tell you it in reverse order so you can kind of put the pieces together. I went to the urinal, and there was just a mess. There was a puddle. I'm like, oh my gosh! But luckily, there were spots for my feet to go that were not covered in some sort of liquid. I don't know what it was. I don't know what it was. Then I noticed 2 blue pills. Little blue pills in the puddle.
They weren't just leftover urinal mints?
There were 2 little blue pills. And then I noticed, like, if you took a sphere, it was a semi-sphere of a turd sitting against the wall. And I'm like, what happened here? Now, when I walked in, an older gentleman was leaving. And when I got to the urinal, an even older gentleman was washing. And I don't know between the 2 of them, if it was any of them, who did this.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what kind of like seed or
So I showed it to my girlfriend, and she immediately identified blue pills are probably a Viagra. I'm like, oh shit, yeah, that's right, they're blue, aren't they?
Well, I mean, so when is the optimal time to pop your Viagra, right? I mean,
is it like a couple hours or something?
But
Like,
what if this was his only 2, and now they're in the urine or whatever it was? I don't know if it's urine. I didn't smell urine. And then he had to like abort, and then he had to leave. And now his date isn't going to get whatever she thought she was going to get.
I can think of 2 probable scenarios. One, he was out on a date and he thought he was going to get some, and then like he realized it was a no-go, and then he was like, "Fuck this," and he flushed his Viagra.
But it's by the years on the ground.
Or 2, he went out on a date with his wife or significant other, and then the dude she was banging on the side like was there, and then he caught him and took his Viagra and flushed him down the urinal. Those are the most plausible
How did the
scenarios.
turd end up against the wall?
see,
This doesn't make any sense.
that's almost impressive. Like this whole scenario. I kind of want to know, but
Wait a
maybe
minute.
I don't.
I missed the turd. The turd
Okay,
was in-
against the wall. I don't know if it's all part of the same. It could have been 3 separate incidents.
No, it was one incident.
Yeah, I'm
we're
just
going
saying,
on that theory.
There's a semi-sphere of a turd against the wall.
What
in the
explains
puddle.
semi-sphere?
So think of a sphere and just like,
Like
cut
half
in
a
half,
basketball stuck on the wall.
but against the wall on the ground. Like
Is that-
my dog will sometimes have
Wait,
like a round turd,
you said against
Okay.
the wall or on the ground?
like just on the ground against the wall.
But
Okay.
so, you inspected this,
No,
obviously.
I saw it from the distance, and I only noticed it at the very end as I was about
was
done.
this like in line with like the whole urinal situation with
It
blue
was
pills?
in the puddle. The pills are the furthest away from this turd object.
Okay,
and
let's get some
and the stall is to the right. Now, did someone on the stall make a complete mess and then everything just spilled over? Maybe it wasn't urinal
Or
issue.
was there something else crazier that happened that there's no evidence of except for it surprised everybody, like
Oh,
3
I
or
don't
4
even
people
want to think
to make
of what
like,
it could have
okay, no,
been.
one guy
I-
dropped his Viagra, one guy pissed all over the place.
I know
another guy
exactly what
ass
happened.
blasted on the wall.
I know exactly what happened. A guy took his date into the bathroom to bang her,
Oh, okay.
and he forgot to take his Viagra. But as he was going to ingest the Viagra, he got nervous, and he shit shotgun against the wall. And she got fed up and grossed out, and she walked out on him, and then he just like spiked the Viagra into the urinal.
Wait, so she wasn't grossed out because of the whole being in the restroom at this place, like, and then he's also
No,
taking
man,
Viagra
it's-
on the spot, like.
No, man, like chicks want to get banged in the bathroom.
Is that a fact?
Doesn't sound like this bathroom way maybe we want to get.
But this was a ritzy restaurant,
I'm
right?
sending a picture to you guys so
What?
you guys can see because I had to take evidence of this.
So you got a picture of the spherical turd.
Well, you have to zoom in.
Maybe this is the year I become a forensic expert. I'm looking for a new job because IT sucks.
Forensics are awesome.
Yeah, I read a book on.
Shit.
I almost want to put a link to this
You,
picture
you,
online.
you straddled this urinal. 'Cause-
Someone did. I
God,
don't know
man,
why,
I
man.
fucking hate it. Like,
Oh, my feet were around the puddle. Yeah, luckily there were spots where there was no whatever the hell it was. I don't know. It didn't smell like piss.
how do you miss that bad?
So maybe he had taken Viagra like a little too early, and had to take a bad piss with like he had to take a full blown like full mass wood piss.
I don't know.
It was like couldn't hit the urinals.
Is that the spherical turd right there?
It might be on the right side.
I'm looking for the turd.
That little yeah, that's not it.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
it's
is
on the
that
right
it
side.
right there? Oh God.
Oh, it's so bad. Yeah, whoever had to clean that.
I
don't
like
know.
how you doctored this image up with a WTF on it.
Because we weren't gonna say that or think that on our own.
When I was 16, I had a job at a restaurant, and for extra cash, I would clean the restaurant on weekends. And my experience cleaning, after a Saturday night, this was a big restaurant, and it was a higher end restaurant in the area, and the place was packed. So I would clean on Saturday mornings, Sunday mornings after the busiest nights of the week, right?
Oh, okay.
And,
In the morning, at least.
so I would clean the men's and the women's bathroom. And my observation was that the women's bathroom were worse than the men's bathroom generally.
I've heard that before. It's a myth that.
Yeah, I've heard it's a toss-up. Could go either way.
But that bathroom that you documented right there, Muskrat, I've never seen anything like that. And, that's a conspiracy.
I'd almost like to get some friends that sit there just to kind of
Dust.
Well, I think there's
dust for
there ain't
fingerprints.
nothing to dust, but maybe they get those with the lines of trajectory like things in there, and
Yeah, well, like the strings.
yeah.
Have a string to the turd. It's the magic bullet. That's how
I don't
Kennedy
know
got
why.
assassinated.
Yeah, right. All right. We need to have a Kennedy show. We need to discuss this in depth because it's pretty much out of the bag. The cat's been out of the bag for years.
Oh, that would be a 10-hour episode. Though.
Yeah, that's
There's
true.
so many angles to take on that. We
All
all
right,
know.
well-
We all know it was the mob and the government.
Well, of course, yeah. Well, we've covered probably the grossest story of this year that I've
Yeah,
encountered.
I think so.
Anything else as we wrap this up, as we hear the chimes?
If you ever find any evidence of wacky bathroom antics, please send them in.
packetsandbolts@gmail.com. Email the show, packetsandbolts@gmail.com. Last thoughts, mongoose.
Just be aware that there's lobster-like crustaceans in the Chicago River, and they're not supposed to be there.
Dub stench.
I don't even know. I can't top what the hell. Here.
Goodbye.
All right, I think this is our 52nd episode. Remember to keep packing those bolts. Till next time. See ya.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Real goat.